On the 25th of May 1983, Hamburg were crowned champions of Europe as they beat Juventus to win the Champions League trophy. Flash forward 40 years and the club find themselves stuck in the second tier of German football where they've been for the last 5 seasons. So in today's video, I will take charge of Hamburg, and this video will not end until we win the Champions League again. Oh, and Hamburg and I have got a little bit of history because they actually sacked me in this year's game already. You have to give me some more time, I beg you.
Amazing.
So guys, here we are in game with Hamburg. They are in the Bundesliga 2. As you can see, facilities-wise, they look pretty darn good, and they shouldn't be at this level. They are one of a couple of teams that really should not be in the second tier of German football. A little bit of mismanagement, because when you look at the squad, you can see there are lots of players in this team who are pretty good. I'll be looking and relying on Bakary Jatta, who can play on either of the wings with his 17 pace, along with good determination and good work rate, and the man who is on the back of this shirt. Yeah, I need to go all the way back here. He didn't actually score that many goals for us in the network game with Mr. Murph FM, resulting in me getting sacked, so I'm hoping he can do a little bit better here. Tactics-wise, to prove that I can do this on my own, we will not be using anything from GYR today. We'll be using a tactic of mine. I'm using this on my stream save right now, twitch.tv/gaminguk. You can come and check it out. It's actually working quite nicely. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it is working quite nicely. It's a 4-3-3 with 2 defensive midfielders, focusing on that defensive stability with the 2 DMs and allowing that advanced playmaker to run and effectively make it a 4-2-3-1 whilst we are in possession. And it works quite well. If we go into the competitions tab, we only have 2 this season, the Pokal, which I'm not really too fussed about, and the league. The board are expecting us to win promotion, and if we have a look at the season preview, we are one of 3 teams that are expected to really fight out at the top. Hertha Berlin, ourselves, and Schalke. They are the 3 teams that I would say shouldn't be in this division, but there are a couple of others as well. I like Kaiserslautern as a fallen giant kind of team. Greuther Fürth, I now have a soft spot for, thanks to me joining them in the network game. But yeah, our goal here, get Hamburg promoted at the first time of asking as their manager and get back into the Bundesliga. Our main goal this season was to achieve that promotion, and we got off to a great start by beating rival Schalke 3-0 in the opening weekend. We carried that momentum into our start of the season, going unbeaten all the way through to the end of October. Our main man this season was Robert Glatzel up front, who dominated in front of goal, bagging 23 goals in all competitions. If only he'd have done this in the network game, and I wouldn't have got sacked. We weren't as impressive in the second half of the season, suffering a few defeats, but we did enough to win the league with 77 points and return to the Bundesliga for next season. It was a really interesting campaign, as both Hertha Berlin and Schalke will remain in the second tier for another year. But our success did not end there, because we actually had an outstanding run in the Pokal as well. We managed to progress past the likes of Werder Bremen and Hanover on our way to a semi-final tie against Freiburg. We were at home for this one, and Freiburg were quickly reduced to 10 men with a red card on the 16th minute. Despite being in full control of the game, we needed to go to extra time to break the deadlock, but we finally got there in the 105th minute through Laszlo Benez. So we moved into the Pokal final, where we would face the final boss in Bayern Munich. And it will come as no surprise, as it was Bayern who took the lead on the half-hour mark through Harry Kane, and then extended their lead in the second half, with Kane again converting from the penalty spot. Benez was able to pull a goal back for us, also from the penalty spot in the 82nd minute, but we couldn't find a second goal to see Bayern complete a league and cup double. We achieved our goal this season of promotion, but had a positive cup run, so let's see if we can build on that now we're going back into the Bundesliga. We've been given just over £6 million over the summer to make things happen, so let's get to it. Okay guys, so we got into the transfer market. We did have a couple players leave us, as you can see on the right hand side of the screen. Nothing overly spectacular in terms of this. So £4.1 million recouped in player sales. The most expensive was Nicolas Oliveira, goes to Hertha Berlin. This is what he looks like. A fullback who can play in both left and right back positions, so he is a decent utility player, but not someone who's going to start week in, week out for us. We did, however, get some free transfers done, as you can see here. All 4 players that we did sign, all coming in on free transfers. The first of which, Eric Dyer, wasn't backed by Bayern Munich, obviously after his loan spell from Tottenham. Tottenham also didn't renew his deal, so we have picked him up. He is 30 years of age, but I think a very good defender, can also play in CDM for us if we require him to. Again, on that free transfer is really, really good. Cohen Casteels comes in to improve us in the goalkeeper position, 32 years of age, 6'6". He is very, very good in goal and a model professional as well. So again, a massive step up in that goalkeeping department. Jamal Lascelles comes in to be a English partnership at the back with Eric Dyer, of course. His contract was not renewed by Newcastle. He's still only 30, still has a bit about him physically, along with that 17 leadership cannot be understated in this one as well. And then we have Zifuk, the right back, who is really, really good in this year's game actually, for a very cheap option. He's only costing us £12,250 a week for that right back position. 15 pace, 15 acceleration, good bravery and aggression as well for that full back position. Can really cause some damage on that right hand side. But if we have a look at the team and we quick pick without restriction our best 11, this is how we line up for the season. So not huge wholesale changes as we move back into the Bundesliga, with Dyer and Zifuk coming straight into the back line along with Casteels in net. But I think in terms of the squad, I think we are ready to make this step up. I feel there are worse teams than us in the Bundesliga, and we do have the two competitions again this season, the league where the board are expecting us to avoid that relegation, and the Pokal where, considering we got to the final last season, the board want us to be competitive, just get past a couple of rounds, and as long as we survive in the league, that is the main thing for me in season number 2. However, after such a historical cup run last year, we did fumble it a little bit this year. We made it past Greuther Fürth in the first round, but then we were dispatched by Holstein Kiel in the second round with one of the craziest penalty shootouts that I've ever seen, with all 11 players taking penalties, as we lost 9-8 with their goalkeeper scoring the winning penalty. But cup success was not our goal this season, we just wanted to survive in the Bundesliga. And we had a bit of a baptism of fire in the league, losing 4 of our opening 6 games, but we did play both Dortmund and Bayern in that time. We did try and get some loan deals over the line before deadline day, as Faustino Ajorni come in from Chelsea, but he was only a squad player for us for the majority of the season. For a second year in a row, Big Robert Glatzel was our top goal scorer, bagging 15 goals in 29 Bundesliga appearances, but he is now wanted by 3 other clubs within the same division. Despite the rough start, we did manage to get things back on track, especially through the winter, as we racked up an 8-game unbeaten run in the Bundesliga, even beating Bayer Leverkusen at home. As you can assume from the volume of green in our schedule, we were more than safe this year, actually achieving a 6th place finish to even secure Europa League football for next season. And whilst this isn't Champions League football, this is a massive step in the right direction. Our overall bank balance is super healthy now, and we've been given a huge transfer budget of 29 million to take this squad to the next level. Right, so here we are, transfers for season number 3 to hopefully get this team Europa League ready. We've had a quick flip on 2 players that we brought in last summer. As you can see on the right-hand side, Jamal Lascelles has gone to Werder Bremen for £1.5 million, and Eric Dyer has gone to Leicester City for an initial £4.6 million, which is great for us. Good flips, players coming in on free transfers, leaving for fees, is a good way to do business. That also topped up our transfer funds so that we could go and make some signings ourselves. And as you can see, we spent £28 million on a lot of players. As you can see, what's that? 4, 5, 6, 7 players coming in there. Alejandro Zenijas is one of the main ones coming in. He can play in a number of positions for us in that central midfield spot, but also on both wings. US men's national team player. Looks like a tricky, creative lad coming in from Club America for £2.8 million. You definitely can't say no to it. Sangante is another player who comes in. Defensive rock for us, I'm hoping. 6'2", Senegalese international. A big addition to our backline, replacing obviously one of the 2 players that have just left us. He cost us £9.5 million from Le Havre. We also spent some money on this guy, Nicolo Tresoldi. Looks pretty well-rounded for a striker. Not going to blow anybody away, but sometimes you do need to invest in these squad players, especially when you are playing in these European competitions. He signed from Hanover for £4.2 million. Simon Simeone comes in as a backup goalkeeper option for us to play behind Casteels. 17 jumping reach on him, 6'4", Albanian international, a very, very capable backup in that goalkeeping spot. We did spend £5.25 million on Isaac Hansen Aron, is probably how I'm butchering this Norwegian Norwegian lad's name. Looks like a great player, can play anywhere through the middle for us, can also play out on the wings if needed. Good natural fitness, good first touch on him as well. Also, not breaking the bank at 5.25 million. We have paid some money for a couple of loans as well. Gabriel Mizraoui comes in from Manchester City. He's already moved in game. I think he starts at Ajax. He does. He's already moved around quite a lot in game, but he looks pretty good. Again, can play in any of those midfield positions. And then the last one is Oscar Højlund coming in from Dortmund. Again, a central midfielder option, creative, nice 14 passing, 14 dribbling and stuff like that. I'm looking for him to get on the ball and actually start creating for us. If we have a look at the tactic with these new signings coming in, if we quick pick without restriction our best 11, this is how we're looking, guys. No absolute standout players. I mean, Castells, according to star rating, is our best player, alongside Koningsdorfer, who looks pretty good but wants a new deal, which we will try and sort out on the wing. Balanced squad, no standout stars, which is kind of what I'm thinking. They might struggle in the Europa League, to be perfectly honest. Speaking of the Europa League, that is one of 3 competitions that we do have this year. The board wants us to get mid-table in that Bundesliga, and if we have a look at the season preview, have we actually made some improvements? It looks like we have. We are now predicted to finish 13th in the league, which is pretty good, but Bayern still the heavy favourites at the top. And Vincent Kompany in this world, not gone to Bayern, he's gone to RB Leipzig instead. So very interesting. Let's get to simulating season number 3 and see how we get on. In Season 3, I wanted to build off last season's impressive 6th place finish in the Bundesliga, and we started the season superbly, only suffering 4 defeats in the first half of the campaign. And all of those defeats were on the road, so that's actually not too bad in my opinion. Our key man this season was American international Alejandro Zenijas, who was a creative force for us on the right-hand side. Not only did he provide 14 assists in all competitions, he actually bagged 20 goals for himself in an outstanding debut season at the club. After the winter break, we struggled in our opening games of 2026, but righted the ship to finish the season pretty strong. We actually even managed to secure ourselves a point off of Bayern at home. So again, I'm chalking that off as another win and closing the gap on them. Whilst we didn't improve on last season's 6th place finish, we did equal it, meaning there will be Europa League football for a 2nd season in a row. The main thing for me was the plus 28 goal difference, which clearly shows we are doing something right. We were also nearly men in the Pokal again this season as we made our way to the semi-finals for a 2nd time in 3 seasons. A run that even included a 3-1 win against Bayern Munich in a team that included Jamal Lascelles, Joshua Kimmich and summer signing Julian Alvarez. However, it was ill discipline that cost us in that semi-final. Patrick Wimmer gave Wolfsburg the lead in the 19th minute, but just before half-time, Miro Muhim received a straight red card for what was a horror challenge. After that, it was relatively one-way traffic, with Wolfsburg running out 6-1 winners on the day, with Jonas Wind netting a second half hat-trick. Season 3 also saw the club's return to continental competition as we were back in the Europa League for the first time in the save. We had an outstanding league phase, only suffering 1 defeat at the hands of Manchester United at Old Trafford. Those results meant that we finished 9th in the league phase table, narrowly missing out on an automatic place in the round of 16. Instead, we had a knockout playoff round tie against Belgian side Anderlecht. We were on the road for the first leg and instantly went behind as Kasper Dolberg tapped home a low cross from close range. I gave the lads a bit of a bollocking at half-time and came out a different side in the second half, bagging 3 goals without response to take a 2-goal lead back to Hamburg. This was a little bit closer as we shared a 1-1 draw, but that first leg result was good enough to see us advance to the round of 16. We were handed a tough ask here as we were drawn against English opposition in the face of Tottenham. This time we hosted the first leg and it was a bit of a goal fest as James Maddison converted 2 first-half penalties for Spurs before Zenijas pulled one back for us just before half-time. In the second half, our right-back Zifuek made it all square, but Tottenham had the last laugh as João Felix made it 3-2 with his 94th minute goal. In London, Spurs were reduced to 10 men early as Heung-min Son received a straight red card in the 18th minute to give us a huge lifeline. However, despite being a man down, it was Spurs who took the lead on the day through Dejan Kulievski just before half-time. We did score a goal of our own in the second half, but we couldn't find another one to see us exit the competition. But considering this was our first time back in a continental competition, I will take it. I'm counting this as a season of progress, but we do need to make a step up next season. And over the summer, we've been given a transfer budget of £30 million to make that happen. Okay guys, so transfer business going into season number 4, and we've had 2 big outgoings for us. On the right hand side of the screen you can see the man who's on the back of this jersey. Robert Glatzel has departed the club. He has gone to Heidenheim for £3.7 million, and we also saw Cohen Casteels leave for Darmstadt for £9.75 million. So we have recouped £14 million in this transfer window, but we've gone out and we've been active in the transfer market ourselves. We have spent £30.5 million for our team, but we've also brought in lots of players on free transfers as well. Thilo Correa comes in from Burnley for £14.25 million. Oscar Højlund, we've completed his loan signing. He comes in from Dortmund's second team for £7.75. Tommy Setford comes in to be our new goalkeeping option, or at least one of them at the very least, coming in from Ajax for £3.7 million. Arthur comes in to play at right back for us from Bayer Leverkusen. He looks like a great step up, the 23-year-old Brazilian. Marvin Hubel comes in from Wolfsburg. He will probably be our new number 1 moving forward. Obviously, he is wearing number 1 on his kit. 16 positioning is really, really good for me as a goalkeeper. 6'2", 23 years of age. I think he could be our number 1 for a long, long time. And then in terms of some of the free transfers, guys, we pulled in Tim Schreiber, Mateus Pereira, Owen Beck, World Cup winner, World Cup goal scorer, Mario Götze. Yes, how old is Mario Götze in this world now? He's 34. Still very good technically, pretty good mentally. His physicals have lost him a little bit, but I still think he could be a good leader for us on and off the pitch. Mohamed El-Neni comes in as well. Jamie Lawrence coming in from Bayern Munich is a nice addition. Again, young German centre-back. He is also 6'7", so big, meaty man. We also got Sergio Gomez on a free from Manchester City. I can't believe they didn't renew his contract, but then kind of can a little bit. He can play anywhere up and down that left-hand side. And another former Manchester City man, we've signed Kylian Iheanacho as well, again, to give us a really good striker option. I didn't realise he had 16 composure, physically very good. Also, kind of tried and tested at a level above where I would say we are at as a team right now, not the Bundesliga, where we're at as a team. Competitions-wise, we have the exact same 3 as last year. The board are expecting a mid-table finish in that Bundesliga. I want us to be really good in the Europa League again if we possibly can, and who doesn't want a cut run in the DFB Pokal? So let's get to simulating season number 4, and hopefully we can make that step up. In Season 4, I was really hoping that we could have a better time in Europe to not only improve the club's reputation for when it comes to signing players, but also get a little bit more money in our bank account. However, our league phase was a lot more turbulent than last season, as we lost half of our games to limp to 16th in the table, meaning we have to face a knockout playoff fixture for a second season in a row. But we lucked out here as we were handed Derry City from the Republic of Ireland, which was a little bit of a mismatch. We had to travel for the first leg and coasted to a comfortable 3-0 win on the Emerald Isle before smashing them 5-2 at home to advance to the round of 16. Here we were handed Italian side Roma, with that first leg being at home. Bakary Jatta gave us the lead in the first half with a cool finish, but that was cancelled out through Paulo Dybala in the second half. Then at the death, Roma took the lead through Gianluca Mancini in the 93rd minute, but we levelled for a second time through Zenijas. But then at the Olimpico, it all unravelled as our defence had a little bit of a stinker. Roma were on 7th heaven, battering us on the night while scoring 7 out of their 8 shots on target.
I prefer really not to speak. If I speak, I am in big trouble.
And domestically, we had a sluggish start to the year, struggling to achieve 3 points on a consistent basis until we hit October. But then we started to pick up the points more consistently, even with wins against the likes of Bayer Leverkusen, Dortmund and Bayern Munich at home. This was again largely down to the performances of our little Captain America, Alejandro Zenijas, who again provided double-digit returns for both goals and assists in the Bundesliga this season. Our second half of the year was slightly less impressive, but considering we were a second-tier side just 3 seasons ago, you have to be happy with the progress. This season's results saw us climb to our highest Bundesliga finish as we bagged the top 4 place with 62 points, level with Dortmund, which also means Champions League football for season number 5. But it seems like actually toppling Bayern in the Bundesliga is going to be a pretty tough ask. And this campaign also saw us make our second DFB Pokal final of the save, riding our luck a bit as we needed penalties twice to make it to the final. This time we were up against RB Leipzig, the team that were actually runners-up in the league. But we started the game strong and we were rewarded in the 10th minute as Arthur powered into the box and showed great composure to fire past the keeper. Defensively, we held strong until the 89th minute, where Leipzig pulled level to send the game to extra time. And then, as I was getting ready for penalties, Leipzig sucker punched us, scoring in the 120th minute to see us miss out on a piece of silverware yet again. So whilst we ended the year empty-handed, this was our best season so far, and because of that, our board have rewarded me with £53 million in our transfer kitty to take this team into the Champions League. Right guys, going into season number 5, we had a massive change in our transfer strategy. We did have a couple of players leave us for fees though. Iheanacho, who came in on a free, he has gone 9.25 million back to England, back to Crystal Palace. Mateus Pereira also has gone to Damage again, selling another player to there. But the big outgoing was this man, Sangante, who was a very good centre-back for us, to be perfectly honest. But when Saudi come calling, you cannot turn them down. He's now on £575,000 a week, which is a joke. We paid £11.5 million on him, so a massive, massive profit on him for just 2 seasons in the Bundesliga. So I'm not too unimpressed by it. But that actually allowed us to go out and spend in the transfer money in the transfer window ourselves, largely dipping the waters into the new gens in the game. We did spend a lot of money though, don't get me wrong. £99 million is a lot of money, even if we did recoup 70 of our own. But you can see we haven't really, apart from a couple players, broken the bank too much. Let's talk about some of the highlights of this for you. Luen was the most expensive guy, coming in as a centre-back for us. 6'2" new gen, coming in from the Netherlands. Fantastic positioning and marking for him is a massive, massive upgrade. Even on the guy that we sold to Saudi, we sold him for 48.5, spent 39 and replaced him with a better player who's younger, who we could sell for a lot more in the future. We also pulled in Kevin, a Brazilian youth player. 5'5" though is a little bit of a worry for me, but he has been capped by Brazil at under 23 level, and he is only 18, so you never know how much he can develop. Thomas Morales comes in for 10.25 million from Argentina as well. 19 years of age, 6'1", very well rounded in these midfield spots. High stamina, high agility, high acceleration as well. A real nice physical player to come in. We signed ourselves a new goalkeeper from Mexico, from Deportivo Guadalajara. Salvador Vilmas looks like a good player for us in the future. Hopefully we can give him the game time, which we are going to do. I'll touch on that in a minute. He is only 18, 6'2", but he has been capped by Mexico, so you know he does have a little bit about him. You can see some of the other players coming in here, but this is the guy I really want to touch on. This guy right here, Dino Islamovic, looks like he is going to be a baller for us. I can already tell you this. We signed him from Serbia. I have a soft spot for Serbians after doing my save with Red Star Belgrade a couple of years ago. 825k he came in from Radniki in Serbia, and I think he will be an absolute baller for us. I'm hoping he has a breakout season. And I'm sure you're wondering, Steve, where have you found all of these players from? I have a Wonderkid finder filter which specifically looks for new gens. I will leave a link to it down in the description. Make sure you go and check it out. It makes finding players like this, if you're on PC or Mac, absolutely easy. Literally list them and you can just pull up the ones that you want for the positions that you need. But also, if we go and have a look at the tactic I said about keeping players in certain positions, this is what we're going to do this year. We're going to pin Vilmas in goal to make sure that he gets the game time that he needs. We're also going to pin Jimenez in this defensive midfield position. We're going to get him to learn that DM position a bit more. He's got 20 determination, great bravery, good marking and tackling and stuff. I think he's much more suited to being this defensive midfielder for us. We're training him in the position via the development tab, going on training the position that he's playing. We're going to pin him there, so he will be a natural in that in no time. And then Romero is the last one that we're going to pin. He is a very strong left-footed player. He can and is preferred to play as a striker. I think he's more suited to playing out on this right-hand side and cutting in, so that's what we're going to do. Again, training him in that position and pinning him in that position for the season. Competitions wise, we are back in the Champions League, meaning it's on the table for the very first time in this save, but we do have to qualify for it. We've got to play Sporting, which is a tricky game, to be perfectly honest, in that third qualifying rank. We've got the Pokal, we've got the Bundesliga. The board are expecting a top half finish again. I just want to keep finishing in those Champions League spots for the time being, top up our coffers, let the new gens that we've signed do their thing and develop. So let's go into it. And Diego Simeone, now the Bayer Leverkusen manager, which is an interesting appointment. After a save that has so many good Pokal runs this season, wouldn't be one of those. We advanced through the first 2 rounds before facing RB Leipzig in a repeat of last season's final. We raced out to a 3-goal lead to take into halftime, but Leipzig roared back in the second half to send the game to extra time. The extra 30 minutes couldn't separate us, meaning we need penalties, but Leipzig went flawless here, scoring all of theirs, with Nicola Terzoldi missing our first spot kick. So no domestic cup run this season, meaning we could focus on the league a little bit more, and I wanted to close that gap on Bayern as much as humanly possible. But for a second season in a row, we had a sluggish start to the campaign whilst all of our new signings were settling in. However, things did settle down from October onwards yet again as we started to get our Bundesliga season back on track. Key man for us this season was new-gen Serbian international Dino Islamovic, who arrived in the summer. He played the whole season at striker and scored an impressive 20 goals in the Bundesliga, which is outstanding for a player in his first season. He also developed superbly and is now valued between 67 and 88 million pounds, which is not bad for a player who just cost us 825k. The Wonder Kid Finder filter strikes again, eh? Make sure you're checking that out down in that description, as I mentioned earlier. As we moved into 2028, we continued to put together an impressive run of results, only suffering 2 defeats in 18 matches to close out the season. Those results did see us close the gap on Bayern, but they didn't finish as champions this year, as RB Leipzig won their first title of the save. However, our 3rd place finish means that we will be back in the Champions League next season, which is just as well, because we were woeful in it this time around. So much so that we didn't even make it to the league phase as we suffered a 5-4 aggregate defeat to Sporting in that qualifying campaign. That result meant that we dropped down into the Europa League, which was much better for us. We won every single game in the league phase here to top the table with a perfect 24 points, which means we moved straight into the round of 16 where we'd face Villarreal from Spain. The first leg was on the road and the Spanish side didn't really put up much resistance as we brushed them aside with a 3-1 win. Back in Germany, things were pretty straightforward, with Dino bagging a brace in a 4-2 win on the night and a 7-3 aggregate victory. So we moved into the quarterfinals where we had Spanish opposition yet again, this time in the shape of Atletico Madrid. This round we were at home first and the goals were flying in for both sides, but 2 goals in the 90th and 96th minute saw us win the game 4-3 to take a single goal lead to the Metropolitano. Javi Galam gave Atletico the lead in the second leg, but we were quickly there with 2 further goals of our own to advance with a 6-4 aggregate win. In the semis, we had opposition from Italy as we were handed a tie with Napoli. The first leg was in Hamburg and our new gens ran the show with 3 of them each bagging a goal in a 3-1 win. I was expecting a rough game in Naples, but Eric Garcia gave us a surprise lead in the first half with an own goal and we didn't look back, winning the game 2-1 on the night and 5-2 on aggregate. So we made it to the Europa League final where we faced surprising opposition in Brentford, which goes to show that the Premier League money is silly in Football Manager. It was the Prem side who took the lead just before half-time as Keane Lewis Potter robbed our defender on the edge of the box and hammered the ball home. But we were still creating chances and Dino became a Hamburg legend, scoring twice in the second half to see us win the Europa League and our first piece of silverware of the save. Whilst we were poor in the Champions League, this is a huge trophy for us to win. And the next stop is that Champions League trophy. Over the summer, we have another £60 million to invest in this team, but several players are wanted after huge seasons. So guys, we are going into the transfer update for season number 6, and the biggest thing for me was that we actually managed to keep hold of our best players. Yes, okay, we did sell a couple of them, as you can see on the right hand side of your screen. Zifuik's gone, Roman Riel is gone, we've also sold Tilo Carrera's gone, El Neni's left, Tresoldi's gone as well. So we have sold a couple of players, but we've replaced them with good new gen talent. Again, yes, okay, we spent £77 million on it, the most expensive of which is being this guy from Arsenal, Ricky Dhaliwal, who looks pretty good for that left hand side. He's got that 19 determination, so you know with game time he will improve. We've also picked up this Brazilian wonder kid, 6'6" striker, 17 finishing, 16 technique, along with good balance and jump and reach, meaning he could be a good player. But for me, this is the main man that we have signed. Nicola Silva, again, can play on the wing, can play up front if we need him to. Those physicals are almost perfect in my mind. Great acceleration, agility and balance, 15 pace, good stamina as well, great off the ball and technique. I think this guy has the ability to be a superstar for us if we were to lose some of our other players. The fact that he's good on both feet, again, also fantastic for me. Capped by Argentina's under-20s as well, and only 19 years of age, so again, a good pickup for us. But you can see our strategy here, much the same, spending smaller volumes of money on these new gen talents, trying to identify where we can get them into the team. And speaking of, if we go into the team and we quick pick our best 11, this is how we are looking for this season. Dino up top. We've also got Romero on this right-hand side. He's locked down that place. Villemas in goal has also locked down that place. And this guy, one of the more expensive ones that we did spend some money on a couple of seasons ago. How much did we spend? £39 million on him. He's now valued at 55 to 63 million pounds. So again, you can see what we're doing here, bringing these players in from these clubs, giving them the opportunity to shine at this level, and then seeing what we can do. We have lots of competitions this season. We're in the Champions League, and we actually make the league phase this time, which is great. We have the UEFA Super Cup, which is an all-German affair where we take on Bayern, and the board are expecting us to qualify for the Europa League and the Bundesliga. And if we have a look at the season preview, our odds are now 33 to 1. So we have really started to improve the level of this team. No players in the Media Dream 11 yet, but we are making strides in the right direction to hopefully continue achieving that Champions League football season on season. Season 6 opened for us with that UEFA Super Cup, where we faced Champions League winners Bayern Munich. This was a tight game, but in the 93rd minute, new gen Nicolas Silva bagged a goal for us on his debut to see us crowned champions. And that wouldn't be the last time that we faced Bayern in a cup final, as we had a rematch in the DFB Pokal final. We cruised through to the final without really breaking a sweat, including a nice 6-1 win against Mainz in the semi-final. So we came head to head with Bayern again, and it was the new gens that dominated this game. Dino opened the scoring in the 9th minute before Nicolas Silva extended the lead on the 22nd minute. In the second half, we made it 3-0 through Matthias Olsson before Harry Kane added nothing but a consolation in the 89th minute, meaning we finally won the club's first DFB Pokal since 1987 after appearing in our third final in 6 seasons. So that bodes well for the Bundesliga, right? Well, this season we started well, winning 6 of our opening 7 games as a real statement of intent domestically. However, in the January transfer window, we said goodbye to our first gem of a player as Pablo Romero was sold to Liverpool for his minimum fee release clause of £43.5 million, which was a profit of £34.5 million on him, which is exactly what the Wonderkid Finder filter is all about. The best of our summer signings was Nicolas Silva, who took the team by storm, bagging 26 goals in all competitions this season as he transitioned to life in Germany from Argentina. And with the combo of him and Dino, this team is stacked up front, as the Serbian scored 22 goals of his own this season and is now wanted by Manchester United, Tottenham and Marseille. But believe me when I say that if he does leave, it's going to cost whoever he goes to an awful lot of money. We didn't reinvest that money in January, opting to save it for the summer, but we did pick up some solid results in the back half of the season to see us climb to a 2nd place finish in the Bundesliga behind, you guessed it, Bayern Munich. This wasn't our best points return of the save so far, but there is some work to do to beat Bayern over a 34-game season. But we will be back in the Champions League next year, as I feel like we have a little bit of unfinished business in that competition after what happened to us this season. We actually made it straight into the league phase this season and actually gave a good account of ourselves with 5 wins from our 8 matches, even if we did lose to Bayern in that league phase. Those results saw us finish 9th in the table, meaning we'd have a playoff round fixture where we would have to take on free spending Chelsea. The first leg was at Stamford Bridge and the goals were flying in left, right and centre, with Chelsea coming out on top of on the night with a 6-5 win, but there was 11 different goal scorers on the night. Back in Germany, things were a little bit more straightforward after cold Cole Palmer extended Chelsea's lead. We then kicked things into overdrive, bagging 3 goals of our own to secure an 8-7 aggregate victory and passage into the round of 16. Here we were drawn alongside, yep, you guessed it again, Bayern Munich. The first leg was at home and Nicolas Silva got us off to a flyer by netting inside the first 15 minutes. However, that was pretty short-lived as Jamal Musiala made it 1-1 just 5 minutes later. And that's how the first leg stayed, but it was in the second leg where we kind of fell apart. For a second game in a row, Silva gave us the lead, but this time it was a Francisco Saito own goal to see Bayern pull level. Neither side could score again to see the game go into extra time, where Bayern took charge of it, scoring 4 unanswered goals in the extra 30 minutes to flatter them a little bit and see them move into the quarterfinals. So I'm calling it 2-2 against Bayern this season, as we added 2 more trophies to our ever-expanding trophy cabinet. But this is going to be a massive summer window for us. Lots of our new gen talent are wanted by big teams around Europe, and we are going to need them if we are going to win a Champions League with Hamburg. We've got a war chest of £95 million to spend over the summer after the sale of Romero to Liverpool, so let's get to work. Right guys, so here we are, completed transfers so far, and so far it looks pretty good, right? We've only sold a couple of players. Jata has finally left the club. Coinsal's gone to Gladbach for our major outgoing of £8.5 million. And you can see again, we've kind of spent some money bringing in this new gen talent as we have done for the last couple of seasons. But Dino is not on here. Yes, you are correct. He is not on here. We've brought in Drew Warburton, the bread man from Manchester City. Again, physical specimen to play on that left-hand side, much the same as Sergio Gomez, actually. We spent £42.5 million on this man coming in from Bayer Leverkusen. It's always good to have a couple of Germans in your squad. Good natural fitness, good acceleration on him. I'm not even going to attempt to butcher Vincent's second name. We'll just leave that as it is. We also spent £4.7 million on this man. Again, a nice physical specimen to play in the left-back spot. 17 acceleration, agility as well, 19 natural fitness, 15 pace, 17 stamina, just what we need, and he's a Czech international, age 19 already. And Arslan comes in again, centre-back option for us. Again, electric physicals. Honestly, sometimes it's almost as if the match engine likes this, right? 6'5" centre-back, 16 jumping reach, good heading as well. Can be a real good player for us, especially off of these set pieces. Now, Dino hasn't gone just yet, but if I go onto here and go onto the outgoings, you can see he has 3 teams that have currently met his minimum fee release clause, £77 million in fact, and Real Madrid, West Ham and Liverpool are all going to vie out for his signature. One would assume he's going to go to Real Madrid or Liverpool. Sorry, West Ham. But on the incoming side of things, we are trying to sign this guy from Charlton, Nat Wallbank, to be his replacement. Again, he looks pretty good in terms of what he can offer. 17 finishing here, good dribbling, good acceleration, good bravery on him as well. £13 million for the replacement. So again, you can see what we're trying to do here. Sell the player for lots of money, bring in the youth player, start again, rebuild. Keep getting that money in the club's coffers, because we're over 100 million in our overall balance now, which is perfect. If we go and take a look at the team as things stand, obviously Islamovic is still going to be here, our Dino, but if we quick pick without restriction our best 11, this is how the team's looking. It's the best team we've ever had. Loen's here in that centre back spot, Silva on the right hand side, and obviously Dino at the moment up front would be an outstanding team to put onto the field to see what we can do. But again, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 new gens in our starting 11, so you can very much see the approach that we have had in this save. If we go and have a look at the competitions tab, we've already played the Super Cup. I was very eager to get this under our belt. We took on Bayern Munich, and Thomas Morales scored twice for us in this one. Julian Alvarez scored for them in the 93rd minute, but I really wanted to see how this team would get on, and we did very well. Thomas Morales coming in, dominating in that central midfield position. He's grown into an absolutely outstanding footballer from Racing Club. 105 million to 136 million, again for a player that we paid £12.5 million for. Very good. Obviously, competitions wise, we do have the Champions League, we have the Bundesliga. The board want Champions League qualification now, so they are really starting to ramp up after their investment in me and the playing squad, I guess. Looking at the season preview though, we are expected to finish 4th, and we finally got our first player in the Media Dream 11 in Dino Islamovic. However, he is most likely going to depart for Real Madrid or Liverpool, which is going to make me really sad. But let's simulate season number 7, see how we get on with his replacement. Before we dive into the season review, I need to update you on Dino, who decided that Real Madrid was the best place for him, and he joined them for £77 million before the transfer window closed. I still can't get over how good a player he is, and he only cost us $825k, so a huge profit on him over 3 seasons. Even without Dino, our start to the season was electric, going unbeaten through the first 4 months of the campaign. Nicolas Silva stepped into that star player role in the team and provided a whopping 24 goals along with 24 assists in all competitions, giving us a guaranteed goal per game, which is outstanding. And Dino's replacement, Nat Wallbank, had a good debut season at the club, netting 30 goals in all competitions. But a hefty amount of those were in the Champions League, which we'll talk about in a minute. After the turn of the year, we moved into 2030 and we were outstanding. We only dropped 8 points from the 54 available, including a 4-0 demolition job of Bayern Munich away from home. Those results meant that it finally happened. We finished above Bayern for the first time in a save and were crowned Bundesliga champions. We finished the season with 82 points, which is a huge return for a league with just 34 fixtures. So we'd secured 2 out of the 3 domestic German trophies this season, but unfortunately we couldn't complete the set. We did make it to the Pokal final, even beating the likes of RB Leipzig and Bayern en route to the final where we faced Dortmund. Goals were flying in for both teams as we seemingly just gave up on defending and went for pure entertainment value. The game finished in a 4-3 win for Dortmund, but this is our 4th cup final in 7 seasons, so we're clearly doing something right. But we're here for the Champions League, and could we make that step up in Europe? Our league phase was almost perfect, winning 6 of our 8 games, with our only loss coming against PSG. Those results saw us finish 3rd in the table behind Barca and PSG to move automatically into the round of 16. And it was an all-German affair here, as we would have to face RB Leipzig. We were away from home in the first leg and picked up a nice 2-1 win, even after Benjamin Sesko gave Leipzig the lead. Back home, things were much more straightforward as our new-gen cohort dominated the game as we scored 4 goals with 4 different goal scorers to guide us into the quarter-finals. This had an element of final boss to it as well, as we would have to face Real Madrid, with the first leg being at home. But to my surprise, Nat Warbank went off in this game, initially scoring a second half hat-trick before receiving a straight red card in the 93rd minute in a 4-0 win. It was never going to be easy for us at the Bernabeu as Madrid came out firing, even with Dino scoring against us on the night. But we had Thor Andre Sundsvag on hand to score twice for us on the night in a 4-2 loss, but that first leg performance was enough to see us advance. We had another Spanish opposition again in the semi-finals, as this time we had to take on Barcelona, again with us at home in the first leg. And we dominated this game from start to finish, and we finally got the breakthrough in the second half as we netted goals with Warbank and Gay. But the big shock for me here was that Bailey Peacock Farrell is the Barcelona goalkeeper. At the Camp Nou, we extended our lead through Drew Warburton, but Lamine Yamal wouldn't be outshone here to make the game 1-1 on the night. Then in the 96th minute, we booked our spot in the final as Jose Maria Jimenez headed home a near post corner. And it would be English opposition in the final as we would have to take on Arsenal. This was a tight game, but just before half-time, Englishman Nat Warbank scored the only goal of the game, with our goalkeeper Salvador Vilmas stealing the headlines with a man-of-the-match performance. But that means that this save and this video is over, as we lifted the Champions League with Hamburg for the 2nd time in their history. Now, this was a great save for me, one, because of redemption, but also I love managing in Germany. This is a fantastic challenge of a fallen giant for anyone to take over, and if you wanted to take over as Hamburg manager in the position that they're in right now, I will leave a link in the description to my Patreon where you can go and get all of the rebuild save files that we have done in this year's game. And if you want to see more rebuilds from me, check out this playlist. It's all the rebuilds that we've done in this year's game.